Well, I'm out here now with Jon Kipper after part 5 of his final piece on concussions and what football is doing to prevent them. Jon, you focused today a little bit on future, about science, about what they're doing down at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. It's amazing what the CB3 Institute is doing. You mentioned right now that it's soccer and football that the Huskers are looking at. Do you think it's going to be more sports moving forward?
Yeah, well, I asked Dr. Savage this, and right now there is no current plans to do that. Right now they're just sticking with football and soccer, but in the future they are looking at gymnastics. You don't necessarily think of gymnastics as a sport where you see a lot of concussions, but that does certainly happen, and maybe eventually you may think wrestling would be added too, but one thing that they want to do, as we mentioned in the series, is tell the difference. Test men and women, see how their brains react differently, and gymnastics would also add more, obviously, women's brains to that because there's obviously so many football players that they're already studying.
I'm just thinking about all the tumbling that they do and all the high ropes and all the trapeze, and there's a lot of times where you can have head impact, so it makes a lot of sense.
It certainly does.
And as you talked about, they want to look for more female athletes. What is the difference between looking at male brains versus female brains?
Well, I mean, as we mentioned, one of the themes of the series is there's so much we don't know. So they want to figure that out. But a few theories that Dr. Savage has is that they seemingly report different symptoms. And with those symptoms is they report them differently. Sometimes they won't report things. Men might report things that women might, and vice versa. So that's what they're going to figure out, but they're still so new into this process. As we mentioned, they just started studying women's soccer this year.
And when people think of concussion, they often think about CTE, the brain disease that a lot of high-profile NFL players in particular have been diagnosed with after death. Is the center looking at this disease at all?
It's tough for the center to do that. That's because in order to diagnose CTE, the person has to be dead. They physically have to take the brain out and study it that way. So it's not really a focus of the center right now. But eventually, the scientific community as a whole certainly wants to do that. The main thing they want to figure out is why some NFL players that have been hit in the head so many times have CTE, while others don't have any symptoms. The theory is it could be genetic, but they just don't know right now.
I mean, the facility is gorgeous for the CB3 down in Lincoln. It's in Memorial Stadium. I'm sure a lot of fans have seen it, but this can't be cheap. How is this funded?
Well, right now it's funded by multiple ways. Right now the university system funds it to an extent through their research office. They also have a grant, so that keeps them going right now. But they mentioned they're pretty ambitious. They want to add, being able to study long-term effects as well. And again, that's going to cost more money. So they're trying to apply for national grants. Dr. Savage said they need funding in order to keep this going and then keep it going in the way that they want to.
Yeah, and you've done terrific work throughout the week telling these stories about local athletes in the area and its impact moving forward. What are your biggest takeaways following this series?
I have multiple of them. One of my main ones was tackling. That's what blew me away. Back in the day when I played football, they taught you to tackle forward. They wanted you to get the guy right here, essentially, right in front. Now they literally tell you to do the opposite. They want you to go from behind and kind of swoop them down, which definitely threw me off. Also, the helmets are vastly different than they used to be just back when I played in 2010. And finally, I eventually want to talk with some people with concussions and how that is affecting their lives right now.
Hey, well, there's a lot of research to still do moving forward. Thank you so much for your coverage, Jon. And you can find more about concussions, high school football, and their impact on the game overall. That's all on our website, 3newsnow.com.